so I can actually make sure that it's looking all right.
Nice.
There it is. See? Look at that.
Yeah.
So we're going to let Celine take some pictures.
Okay.
I really liked when Matt did that last week. He had his guy just come out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he texted me ahead of time. He's like, hey, can, so-and-so come out and take some pictures for our socials? And I'm like, heck yeah, like, that'd be cool. Why didn't we do this before? And so he's got all these great pictures. Of course, Matt, did you see the shirt Matt was wearing?
I can't remember.
He, if you get a chance to watch it, it's pretty funny, especially if you watch the live, the raw. But he's wearing this shirt that basically has the six-pack on it with like tattoos and everything. So it was.
Oh, honestly, I saw the beginning of it. I thought he just had a bunch of tattoos.
He's got at least
I'm
one.
like, he's the owner of Tentcraft, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, I didn't know he was that
Dang,
edgy.
he's edgy, man.
Seriously,
edgy.
that's what I thought.
Oh, that's funny. That's so funny. All right, I'm going to pull this guy out for the time. And we'll go ahead. We're going to get started. So all of you that are watching, thank you. Celine's taking some pictures because she's amazing.
Yes, she is.
I love it. So, yeah. I'm like thinking about redoing my intro, but I don't know what yet. So we're just going to stick with the typical.
All right.
Welcome to TubPreneurs, everybody. I am your host, John Uplegger, with Vision Consulting, helping businesses identify and communicate their values and vision so they can move forward with velocity towards their goals. And, of course, I have with me today Jimmy Stanton with The Wash Doctor. Welcome, Jimmy.
That's right.
Yeah, you
there
got that. He's got it on the shirt and everything, guys.
That's
he
right.
came prepared, custom-made shirt just
That's
for the
right.
tub.
I did. I got it made last week.
I just thought about this. We could call this the Tubcast instead of a podcast.
Absolutely.
There we go. There we go. Hashtag Tubcast. That'll be our one of our new hashtags.
Yeah.
So, anyways.
Well, I was thinking, how people always say we're standing on the shoulders of giants? Now we can say we've sat in the tub with giants.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, especially if you're sitting with me, I'm kind of a giant right now, period. But one day I'll be a giant in the business as well. So, Jimmy, your business, and I've known Jimmy for several years now, and Jimmy has, over the past 2 years, built the Wash Doctor from really nothing, from just inception to now they're starting to really blow up in the northern Michigan area. And can you kind of tell us a little bit about your background and what made you want to start this endeavor with the Wash Doctor?
I think I was born with the serial entrepreneurial curse. I've never been happy, in any kind of factory job or monotonous job like that.
Yeah.
I
can relate to that one.
Yeah. So that's kind of my makeup. And just, it actually all kind of started back at when I had my little marketing office at Jenny Clean. Because I was like, hey, you guys should pressure wash houses. Like, they need cleaned on the outside and the inside.
Yep.
And then it didn't. Anyways, that idea kind of fell flat for a while, and I was at my father-in-law's house, and he had an old truck and a pressure washer sitting there. I'm like, hey, Dave, can I use this? So I put my marketing prowess to work. We went out and tested the market. I went out with a rusty old truck that you got to have your tetanus shot, up to date to get in and out of. And we went out, tested the market, and put a little marketing out there, and it was a good thing. And then the next year we put some money behind it and got a really good custom-made rig and truck and really went to town. So that's kind of the short story. Yeah.
So you mentioned like you tested the market and everything, and a lot of this focus of this Tubcast really is around helping entrepreneurs and those who are going to be starting businesses and whatnot. So what did that mean when you went out and tested the market? Like, what did that look like for you, and how could somebody else kind of do the same thing in what they do?
Well, I had to do the thing that I hate doing the most, which is taking the minimal viable product to the market. I'm always the guy that wants to obsess about all the details and make sure everything's right before I do it. So that was hard for me, going out with a rust bucket truck, and I did some training on my own, and basically what it looked like is I picked about 10 people, actually you included. I said, hey, I'll come wash your house for free. I just need a review. That's what I did. So within like 2 weeks, we done like 10 jobs and had several reviews. And so, so right away, you know, got Google My Business rocking, got reviews going, and then it just started kind of piling on from there, word of mouth, and then we ramped up more marketing and everything like that. And so that's basically what you got to do. You got to be willing to do work for free. I really think get out there, or, you know, hit up your friends and family, or do it cheap, get reviews, and it'll, you know, the ball will start rolling. That's what you got to do.
So I hope you guys are listening to what Jimmy says, because, and we're going to pick his brain more about this, but Jimmy really is, has a great marketing brain that he has put to great use when building the Wash Doctor. And what he's talking about here is really, when you're getting started, like, just get out there. You need, you need the reps, right? You need the practice. You need to start learning what it looks like to be the business owner and everything. But then also, those reviews are critical. Can you talk a little bit to the marketing side of things, and what role? I mean, why is it important for folks to get those reviews? What does that actually do, and how does having a bunch of reviews at the start really help?
Well, for one thing, building trust with your clients and potential clients is at the top of the list for any business. And in this day and age, you know, word of mouth is always the best. But, you know, what do when you need a service? You search it and you check their reviews. And so being in marketing, there's really there's lots of stuff you can do, fun stuff you can do with marketing, and branding is important. And there's lots of like fun stuff you can do, but there's really a few specific things that move the needle. And, you know, Google, I mean, you know, the CEO of Google has said, you know, basically we want to be God, and they're kind of on that path, but you got to scratch Google's back if you're going to run a business, and reviews are up there at the top. You got to build trust, and that's the biggest thing reviews do, is build trust before you even have an opportunity to talk to that client. Yeah.
So you're getting started. You've got this old rust bucket van. You're building up these reviews. You're doing a bunch of work for free. Probably not bringing in a lot of income.
No,
I'm guessing.
Yep.
So how did you make it through that first year, and then turn around and buy a new truck and all this new equipment, so that you can go out and really start killing it more?
Well, part of that was from revenue, but also my business partner, Dave Fleming, who is now full-time with me. So we do we wash roofs, siding, concrete, and decks, but then we also do full deck restoration.
Okay.
So Dave runs our deck side. So we're turning over a lot of decks, super high end. We're not cheap, but we're high end. So people always ask me, you know, how long is this going to last? And I say, well, here's our guarantee. We're going to give you the most premier deck service, and however long that lasts, it's going to last in northern Michigan. So anyways, Dave, you know, once I proved the concept to Dave's a great guy, super blessing in our life. And he said, okay, I trust you. I see what you're doing. Let's go together in this. So Dave helped put some funding to it. And that's how we got started.
So you have that partner there that's helping you grow it and everything.
Yep.
You know, one of the things that I love that you said too is you kind of alluded to this idea of like, hey, we're not the cheapest. We do high-end work.
Yes.
Can you kind of expound on, and I have some thoughts on this that I'll share afterwards. But when you're dealing with like clients and everything, everybody's always focused on the price number, or so it seems. And so you're just going, no, we're a premier service. We're gonna charge a lot. What are some of what does that do for you as a business?
To be brutally honest, a lot of the clients who are price shopping are not our ideal clients. So typically it's just a better relationship all around that we attract the kind of clients that we ideally like to work with. So there's a lot of great people who are price shopping, don't get me wrong, but our ideal clients, you know, they're looking for a relationship, they're looking for quality and trust. They want to have you come back to do all of their work every year. And that's what we're looking for.
And I love that, because what he's talking about, TubPreneurs, is one, he's defined out who that ideal client is. But then the other cool thing, and this is something I've been picking up a lot of in the last few weeks with stuff I've been listening to and plugging into, everybody's concerned right now about this recession and about a depression and everything, except for, newsflash, affluent people. The wealthy are not concerned.
They're ready to rock.
So if you want to create a business that's going to go out there and kill it, you can market to the wealthy. And that doesn't mean lowering your prices. That means raising your prices.
That's right. That's a good point.
And this is just one of those things. Obviously, we have to serve the markets that we're meant to serve, and we all have a different passion for that. But I'll tell you what, you want to recession-proof your business, have a market for the high affluent people.
For sure. And we've been having those thoughts and conversations, you know. And we're just not going to be on a race to the bottom. We're going to do high quality work, and we're not lowering our prices.
And you're not going to apologize for those prices either, it sounds like.
No, and you know, we're also not gouging people. You know, we pay attention to national averages, to local averages. We know where we're at, you know, and we just decided, you know, we're not going to be on a race to the bottom. We're going to do premium work. If you want to pay for that, then let's work together, you know. So, yeah.
Awesome. So let's fast forward now. So you mentioned kind of how you got started buying that first truck. Now fast forward to today. You've got a couple trucks now, correct?
Yep.
And a couple employees, and you're kind of entering that. How have you navigated that market of learning how to hire people? How do you train people? How do you instill your culture in them? You kind of talk to that a little bit?
That's a big question. Some of that we're doing, some of that we're embarking on, and actually we're working with John on getting all that stuff together. So well, we one of our employees, Vitali, I call him our Ukrainian wonder boy. He is an artisan with a paintbrush. Anybody who watches him work, they're like, I've never seen anybody paint my deck like that. He'll paint your deck like he's painting $1 million home on the inside, you know.
Wow.
So he had already been working with Dave. So when Dave left Pathway Homes, Dave was the paint foreman for Pathway Homes for many years. Dave has won awards for like Parade of Homes, Best Painted Home, and all that kind of stuff. So we got Vitali along the ride, and then we hired another great guy, Matt, this year, and they're rocking. So we're kind of blessed in that regard. Our first couple hires were good. As far as like culture and all that, basically the main thing right now that we're working on is just instilling that vision of excellence in them. You know, like, hey, we're gonna redo that. That's not good enough. You know, like we're shooting higher. So that's kind of the main thing right now. So a big part of our business is seasonal. So we have 7 months to rock it for 12. So, and that leads to kind of another vertical we're getting into, maybe we can talk about later.
Yeah, that would actually be a great transition, because a lot of businesses, as they're getting started, we all have those ebbs and flows. And I think in northern Michigan, I don't know if we feel that more than other places, but it sure feels like that, because we're in an area where literally half the populace vanishes for 3, 4 months, 5 months sometimes. So how are you guys navigating that up and down, and what are you looking to do to kind of keep yourself busy, and how could that be applicable to other business owners?
Well, so I would say, first of all, when you're running a small business, you do what you got to do. So one of the things that we got to do this winter, and we love to do and are passionate about, is interior paint work.
Okay.
So we're going to be doing that, and that's going to help float us by. But we're also, one of the things, I don't know who said it originally, but they're like, you know, don't start a business that people are not asking you to start. And that's kind of that testing the market thing. You know, if you keep running into the same conversation where people are having the same need, you might want to bring a solution to that problem. Yeah. So with the Wash Doctor, we are constantly running into clients who need handyman work. They can't find a handyman. A lot of handyman are not really handymen. They're like contractors, you know, like, we'll build you a garage or a house or, you know, whatever. And it's like, no. So people need like a new faucet put in, you know, a broken tile in their bathroom, or something patched on their roof, or stuff like that. Real handyman stuff. So We are venturing out right now. We have one handyman. So we actually have 3 employees, and Jim is out. So basically, right now, I'm testing the market. So as we're doing decks and washing houses, I'm like, just want to let you know, we've hired a handyman. And every single time I say that, the customer about jumps out of their shoes. Are serious, because they can't find somebody. And you were talking about affluent people. Like, there's a lot of people that have the means that they want to spend time doing recreational things and not fixing their leaky faucet.
Sure.
And so that's something we're getting into, and that'll be a nice year-round thing. So we're looking for good handymen.
Okay. All right. And I love what you said, too. You said, don't start a business that people aren't asking for.
Yeah.
Or something along those lines.
I forget who quoted that, but yeah, they're not. Or don't write a book that people aren't asking you to write.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so great. I mean, because you think about it, we've all had those ideas.
Yeah.
You know,
and it's a great idea.
Yeah,
it's always a great idea.
It's the best idea. And then you take it and you try to do something with it, and it's like, oh, hello, anybody? Mm-hmm. So make sure that the business that you want to start, you're serving a need that people want or need served.
That's right.
Absolutely. So that's such great insight. Now, obviously, like, I want to go back again too a little bit, because you have kind of a cool story. Like, you didn't start off power washing.
No.
You didn't even start off marketing. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey and how you've kind of went from one avenue over here to this to now washing and everything like that, and give us a clearer picture of that?
Yeah, I'd love to. So in 2009, we moved our family up here from Toledo, Ohio area, which is beautiful because of the people there, not beautiful because of the landscape. But anyways, we came up here to be the worship pastors at Living Hope Church, and we were there for 10 years, I think. That was just an awesome time. So I led worship and ran the tech department and all that kind of stuff. And then it was just time for a change, you know. And in that time frame, I started this marketing company. I had done a lot of marketing through the years, you know. When you're involved in tech with the church, you get involved with everything. And I'd done a lot of side work and stuff like that. So I went from being a worship pastor to starting a marketing company. And right when I gave my resignation, we found out that my daughter, Sophie, was deathly ill.
Oh.
So literally, this was right before I started the actual marketing company. I was at an interview, and my phone is blowing up, and I can't answer it. I'm like in the interview. And so I get out to the parking lot. My wife's on the phone, and basically my daughter had some petechiae, which is that it's like dotting bruising.
Yeah.
And so my daughter took her in to Dr. Lyons, plug, awesome doctor in town. And like an hour later, the doctor called Rachel and said, your bed is ready at DeVos. Pack a few things in a bag and get down there in Grand Rapids. So, so she, basically, Sophie had, it's called aplastic anemia, which just means your bone marrow is not creating all the blood cells that it's supposed to. So her platelets were like dangerously low, to the point where if she would have got a bloody nose, or like it could have been bad. So my wife was a nurse. Sorry, this is a long story.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
So my wife Rachel's a nurse, and so our plan was, I think God laughs at our plans sometimes, but our plan was Rachel was going to float us financially. I'm starting the marketing business. We were great. Nurses make great money. Flick of a switch, slash myself. Rachel becomes Sophie's caregiver, and I've got a brand new business I've got to support the family with. So, and then COVID hit, and it was just one thing after another. And so, anyways, so I started the marketing business. I tried that for a while. I love marketing, but what I don't love about marketing is sitting in front of a computer screen for hours and hours.
Yeah.
It's not good for me. Like, I have ADD, so I need constant new rushes of dopamine on a regular basis. And then out of that experience, like I was saying, working. I had a little office in Jenny Clean, which is cool because I got to see the magic happen behind the scenes there, and then I already talked about how we got into the pressure washing business. So so we went from being pastors, and I'm the worship pastor now at Bayview Church in Traverse City. So I do that. You'll find me there on the weekends leading worship, and then we run our business. So
I love it. I love it. So I mean, kind of the marketing company at that point, like you kind of had a do or die situation in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I had some good success with it, but it wasn't the best thing for us. And let me just tell you, anybody who has put their blood, sweat, and tears in something, when you have to put it to death, it feels like a death in the family. Yeah. It was hard, but Rachel and I knew that's what we needed to do, to really focus on the Wash Doctor, and because we saw such great success right away with it. So we're like, I'm just like, if I could focus. So I just took my marketing prowess and put it into the Wash Doctor.
There you go.
And yeah.
Wow, that's fantastic. So you really, what I hear you saying is you may have been trying to juggle both of them for a minute.
I was.
And then you just said, no.
Yep.
This is do or die. Like, we're going to go. We're going to make this happen.
Yep.
And there's no plan B.
Yeah, and the finances weren't there. So, I mean, it was... And I think, you can't do anything great without taking risks. So we just knew that that's what we needed to do, and that's what we did. And so it was definitely the right choice. So...
Well, I would agree with you. I mean, seeing the growth that you've had and everything, and coming into the market, what were some of the things that, I mean, you can't be the only power washing company in town.
They're popping up all over the place.
So how have you been able, and what did you do to differentiate yourself from your competition that may be applicable to other businesses?
I think the best way to describe this, I was thinking about this, my wife, who is much wiser than I hope she watches this. She had a great analogy. She's like, running the business is like working at a coffee shop. When you're a barista, you've got a whole line of people, and it can be really overwhelming. It just never stops, right? The line never stops. And the best thing that you can do is focus just on that one drink. Make that with excellence and serve that one person. Don't worry about everybody else in line. Focus on that one person. And that's what we did. Every client, we did our best to do high quality work, give good customer service. We're not perfect. We make mistakes. We're constantly growing, working on our systems. And that's the real key, is take what you have in front of you, give it everything you have, treat those clients like $1 million. And if you do that, it'll start compiling and you'll see the growth.
That's great. I mean, I think about that, and I love that analogy of the barista, and, make the coffee for the person right in front of you.
Yeah.
Because so many times I found myself when, in different businesses that I've been involved in, like, yes, I'm doing this over here, but I'm thinking about this person over here.
Overwhelmed.
And ultimately, overwhelmed. And then on top of that, I'm not able to serve that customer I'm working on to my fullest potential.
That's right.
Wherever you are, be there. Be there.
Yes.
Be completely there and completely in front of that customer.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. Now, I think I want to go back to a little bit of this idea of you being a pastor and then you also being a business owner.
Yep.
And I'm curious on your thoughts. I've seen a lot of similarities between church and business.
Yes.
And I wonder if you have any thoughts on that you'd want to share.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of similarities. And I think also there's something, I was trying to pare down, what is kind of the one thing I think the church can learn from the business world and the business world can learn from the church. So I think the main thing the business world can learn from the church is purpose.
Purpose. Okay.
So in the church, we obviously believe that we have the greatest purpose, to take the gospel to the ends of the earth. And so everything that we do is driven by that purpose, is driven by the gospel. So when we're frustrated with other staff members and we're not getting along, we got to think, what is our purpose? Why are we doing what we're doing? That why. But what I've seen in the church through the years, and I do have to say that Chris Emery, who is our lead pastor at Bayview, is phenomenal at this, and that is coupling purpose with excellence. So what I think that a lot of times happens, though, in the church is, so-and-so employee or whatever is not doing the best work, is not being excellent in what they're doing, but, well, we have to have grace. And it's like, no, like, there are times like that person needs to be fired. I mean, there are probably there are probably times in my ministry journey where I needed to be fired. I mean, maybe, we all need accountability.
Yeah.
And we all need to have the bar set high. And so Chris does a phenomenal job at that at church. So he mixes purpose with grace, but also excellence. Mm-hmm. But I think the church at large, though, does not do this well. I think that they do a lot of weird, hokey things that take your attention away from the vision and distracts from the purpose of why they're there. And they're not as effective as they could be if they embrace excellence and allowed that purpose to drive the excellence. So in the business world, though, I think on the flip side, we need to do a good job of finding our purpose. Yeah. So our purpose is, obviously, we're in business to make money.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
So, and I don't, I hope you don't mind if I throw a Jenny Clean story out.
I don't mind.
Okay. So, once again, I was working in the office at Jenny Clean, so I got a behind-the-scenes view, and there's actually a really good kind of story that I was thinking of today about John and Dennis and the company. They were always trying to figure out, what is our double bottom line? How are we going to help our employees? How are we going to add value to them? We want them to make good money. We want to take care of them, all that kind of stuff. But also, how does that relate? I'm trying to think. Okay, so I'm going to go back to a day when COVID hit. I remember I came into the office, and in my mind, it was Armageddon. It was the end of the world. I was kind of like full of fear and not doing well with the whole thing. Everybody was supposed to be quarantined, but I was coming into work, anyways. And I had a really bad attitude, and I was full of fear, and the vision was and purpose was not driving what I was doing. And you guys were kind of like, okay, this is going on. How are we going to pivot right now and serve? And so the whole purpose was, your home or office healthy and clean.
Yeah.
So that purpose drove you guys to make the decision like, hey, one of the ways we can help is by offering spray disinfectant.
Yep.
Like, that's a service like people need right now, and like big time need, right? And I saw you guys while I was in there with in a pissy mood and the whole thing. You guys were shifting gears, and that led to a bunch of growth. You were able to, have that purpose and add value, and really lead in a situation that there were times. I mean, let's face it. I think probably we all felt hopeless at times. We're like, what's going on? Nobody really knows what the coronavirus is at the beginning and all that. And I think that's a good representation of how purpose can drive your excellence. If you really know the why. So we're working on this as a company right now. Right now we're working on how do we best take care of our employees and that kind of stuff. We have partnered with Freedom Builders, so we're doing some washing for them. I'm actually going to a Freedom Builders event tomorrow night, actually. They're a great company that it's Christian based, but they take donations and they help people with remodel projects that can't afford them.
Wow.
So we partner with them, and so we're kind of working on what does that double bottom line look like for us right now. I'm kind of going on and on and on, but I think the church can grow in the excellence factor, and in the business world can grow in the purpose factor.
And I love how you said,
yeah,
it really does, because I think a lot of businesses could probably grow in both purpose and excellence.
Yeah.
And, I look at purpose, and this is something I work with a lot of my companies on, is helping them find, I love to call it that core focus. Okay. So what's your primary purpose, cause, or passion? What's the reason that gets you out of bed? Jimmy, my guess is you didn't start this company because you just had such a love for power washing and like power washing, and you're like, God, I got to get out there and power wash today. Like you probably had a deeper reason for it, and now as you start to build it and you grow it, and now you're giving back to multiple clients and multiple employees, and you're creating something where your business is really taking on an identity itself. There's a greater reason for that than even just, hey, I want to make some money.
That's right.
And that's really what you're talking about, as far as I hear it, is what's your core purpose, cause, or passion.
Yes.
And then you figure that out, and then you figure out what's your niche. What's your niche? How are you going to do that? How are you going to serve those people? So Jimmy, it's sounds like we're actually still in the process of working this out. This is stuff that we're actively discussing for Jimmy. But it sounds like, power washing and high quality, high end deck restoration are some of the ways that you're developing that niche. So that's really cool. I absolutely love that. And I think the serving through excellence too. Businesses need to hear this. Yeah. So many businesses struggle with firing the wrong people. And I mean, if they're not the right people for your business, you might need to let them go. It's better for them and it's better for you. But a lot of that is, and this goes back to initials, you have to have actually identified and communicated what your expectations are, i.e. core values.
That's right, yeah.
So you guys have been going through this exercise yourself recently.
Yeah, we have. And I just want to say one more thing about the excellence thing. Stuff happens, and so part of excellence, because perfection is not attainable. If you pursue perfection, you'll hit excellence. So I just think when things happen, when things go wrong, which we've had happen, every company has it happen, it's a big part of the value you bring to the table is how you deal with it. Are you willing to deal with it and make it right with that client? Work hard, go over the top, do what you got to do to make them happy. And what I found is 98% of the time, you actually build, when stuff goes wrong and you deal with it right, you actually build a long-term relationship with that client, and then you end up with a better relationship, and in the end, anyways. So part of excellence is when things hit the fan, dealing with them well. And trust me, I'm not perfect at this. Like, I've dropped the ball on some things, and this is a good reminder for me too. Like, keeping that front of mind,
Well, we've heard this exact same thing on this podcast before. If you go back and you listen to Josh Levac with Box Drop Mattress.
Oh, I love Josh.
Yeah, he's fantastic. He said the exact same thing.
Yep.
100%, that when you have that opportunity to make something right, you're actually able to build a better relationship with that client.
Yep.
Matt kind of talked a little bit about this as well, with the idea, he didn't say we're not going to make mistakes. Right. He said we just don't want to make the same mistake twice.
Yes.
And then always be improving. So how have you been able to juggle, because we've all had those issues with customers, and if you haven't yet, you will. How are you? And usually what happens is they come to you and they go, I want my money back.
Yeah.
You just did $1,000 job for me.
That's right. Yep.
I want my money back. Yep. I don't want to pay for this. Blah, blah, blah. How do you find the logical and help them understand the logical, how do we make this right kind of scenario for that?
Well, I think first of all, just being apologetic, acknowledging the fact that here's the thing, whether it was your fault or not, just acknowledging, okay, this went wrong. We're very sorry. What can we do to make it right? And when you open up the conversation, because I've had clients that, were frustrated or whatever, and opening it up like that kind of puts the ball in their court, and they usually chill out, and then you can have a conversation just by acknowledging, hey, we realize we screwed up or whatever. How can we make it right? I think that's first and foremost. Instead of going, well, I'm sorry, but that really wasn't our fault, and that's not a good way to start. So, and then coming to an agreement with them. John, we were spraying your roof there, right? And we got a little overspray in your deck, and your deck is dirty, which isn't my fault, right? But the overspray left spots, clean spots on your deck, right? Let's say this is a scenario, okay? So it's not my fault that your deck is dirty, right? Your deck needs to be clean. So, that's a perfect example. John, I'm so sorry this happened. Hey, what if we give you half price on a deck wash, then you get your deck clean, and then, and just offer up some kind of incentive, to make that right. That might be maybe that's not a good example. It just...
Well, I like it. I mean, I'm thinking about it like, okay, well, one, it's a win-win scenario, right?
Yes.
So you're winning in the sense of you're already out there. It doesn't cost you a lot more to clean off their deck.
Right.
And they're winning in the sense of they're going to feel like they're winning because they're like, oh, well, hey, yeah, he's taking care of my deck too.
Right.
So it ends up being a win-win scenario, which is great.
For sure.
The other thing, and I'm trying to remember, sorry, I usually
I
have
this
all
good.
like, boom, ready to go. There was a couple other things that you had mentioned in there that were really great, and I can't remember my point, so I'm not going to go back there, which is fine. So as you were getting started and you were going through some of these struggles, obviously you had like some big major hurdles.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about like the business and maybe some of those business normal hurdles that you came up with, what were some of those and how did you overcome them?
Starting a service-based business, running it by yourself, taking calls, doing the quotes, doing the work, all the stuff is a recipe for burnout and disaster. So the biggest hurdle was figuring out how to hire. I was scared of payroll, to be honest. Getting into that world was a little scary for me. But let me tell you, like, having Dave on board and having 2 employees, I mean, it has brought some good margin to really, help me to see things clearly. So I think one of the biggest hurdles for me, because I'm kind of a self-made man and I can be prideful and I don't like asking for help. That's a problem. So delegation is a big one. We found a great accountant now that's taking, she'll call me and be like, I know you told me you wanted me to do this. Here's why I don't think it's a good idea. She's great. And just getting those key people in place. And I think looking back, I would have done that sooner. So I'm not great at finances and looking at numbers and stuff. That's not my thing. Starting a business, beating the bushes, marketing, all that stuff. Like I'm great at that. So I think early on, if you're like me and you're not the greatest at that, I would hire an accountant right away. And when your business is small, it's not too expensive. It's all based on revenue and, all that kind of stuff. I would have done that early on, like literally the first week.
Yeah. Well, and I love what you're saying because you're recognizing, hey, this isn't my strong suit. This isn't what I'm good at. And a lot of times what I've noticed business owners don't realize is they're like, yeah, but I can do it. I can make it through.
Yep.
But what a lot of times you don't realize is the opportunity cost that has for you. Because I know for me, when I do stuff that's not in my wheelhouse, that I'm not excited about, that I'm not passionate about, that I'm okay at but don't really enjoy, it's soul sucking in a lot of ways. And so I could be using that time and that energy to go towards something productive, and then yes, it costs me a little bit to do this over here, but at the end of the day, it's costing me a lot more to not hire that out.
That is a great point. And that's exactly what happened. There was a couple times I got real overwhelmed. I mean,
I believe it.
I mean, and so it's been a lot better, to the point where when we go on vacation and Rachel's like, hey, who's going to feed the chickens and the cat? I'm like, one of our employees. I mean, that little thing creates margin. That's one thing I don't have to worry about.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
true.
It's kind of a funny thing, but
yeah, I mean, I can honestly say I've heard of employees being asked to do weirder things. So it works. And as long as they're on board with it, it's all good. So now, as you can kind of continue to grow and you're looking out and everything, what ultimately do you want to do with this business moving forward? Are you thinking about taking it bigger, or what are you looking at?
So I was listening to Clay Clark, who I feel like is my best friend. He doesn't know it yet. But that guy
he's a great guy. Yeah.
He's on par.
And his Yeezys are pretty nice.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But he said something that was gold. I was listening to a podcast earlier today. He said, if you want to kill it, you got to get in the top 5% of your industry.
Wow. Okay.
And so I just want to say to all the pressure washing companies out there, we're coming for you. I mean, we are open-handed. We want to see everybody be successful, but we definitely want to scale it up. And I've actually had, and this might sound really prideful, but for me, building this thing from the ground up, this is the greatest compliment I could ever have, and I get it regularly. And they say, "Are you a franchise?"
Yep.
And I'm like, thank you for saying that. Like, that means the world to me, knowing what that means, because when you think of a franchise, what do they say? What's the percentage of businesses that fail in the first 5 years or whatever?
It's like 80-some%.
Right.
It's in actually, if you go 5 years, it's even more than that. But
do you know the success rate for businesses who have franchised?
Much higher.
It's like 80-some% or 90%.
Much higher. Because it's systematized.
Yes.
And you have all the tools there.
Yeah. So, anyways, someday, yes, I think franchising could be in the maybe the 5 to 10 year plan. Right now, we need to really maximize this area. We want to get a truck, in the Petoskey area.
Oh yeah.
Get a truck in the Big Rapids area, because right now we are driving. I drive a lot.
So this is that testing the market kind of. You're doing the testing the market right now, and you're hearing, hey, you need a truck here, you need a truck here.
That's right. Yep. So a lot of our ideal clients are, on Torch Lake, in Leland and, around the big lakes and stuff. And so, yes, we definitely like to do that. The deck thing, we are just seeing awesome growth in that. We already have more decks in the books than we could possibly get done this year. Probably at the end of the season, we'll have, 10 or 12 decks on the books for the beginning of next season.
Yeah. Wow. That's fantastic. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, it is huge. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned Clay Clark. Obviously, I'm familiar with Clay Clark as well. I've actually got to meet him. So.
Oh, yeah, you went. I'm hoping to go to the next conference.
Which is fantastic. I don't know if he'd remember me from Adam, but fantastic guy, fantastic podcast, a lot of other great stuff. On that note, I kind of know the answer already, but if there was like one book that would really help a new entrepreneur, a new startup business get out there and do better, what would you recommend to them?
I would recommend Clay Clark's book, Search Engine Domination. And here's why. Having owned a marketing agency, I constantly was being distracted by every new marketing idea. I saw somebody advertising the other day, SEO is dead, and I'm like, I don't think so. I mean, Google's not going anywhere. So my point is that book in like 150 pages or something literally lays out everything you need to do on your website. Everyone from getting the H1 titles correct to how to lay it out. I'm still working on getting ours done myself. It's constant work to be done on it. But that lays out the few things you need to do in your marketing to move the needle. One thing I like about Clay Clark, he's not fluff. He's like, listen, bro, call your leads until they cry, buy, or die. He's like, don't go to that marketing convention. Sell, 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 And so you want to focus, especially early on, I would say you want to minimize the amount of marketing down to the very few things that you need to do to move that needle. And then sell, 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 and do quality work. So that book lays it out.
Okay. I love it. So SEO or Search Engine Domination by Clay Clark. We'll try to put a link down in the description for that as well.
I think it's free.
Oh.
I think you can get a free copy of it.
I love it. Only for TubPreneur listeners.
That's
not
right.
Really.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep. Hashtag not sponsored.
Yep.
We're going to get in trouble for that one, but that's okay. So, one of the other things I think you mentioned, and maybe you can touch a little bit on this as I was reading through some of the thoughts beforehand. You mentioned about, and you kind of touched on this a little bit, but talk a little bit about how you had ADD, right?
Yeah.
Or you have ADD.
Yeah.
And you're bouncing all the walls. How do you keep yourself organized, and how do you keep yourself moving in the positive direction? Because I know I struggle with staying focused. So what's some of the tricks that you've found that help with that?
Can I just first say that it is a legitimate thing? Like, it is.
ADD?
No, I mean, for real. And honestly, I was struggling in my basement during COVID trying to get work done, and I started doing research on ADD, and it honestly brought me to tears because I'm like, I'm not a lunatic. Like, there's a reason why I struggle with focusing. And so if you struggle with focusing, do some research. One of the things that helped me so much was John Lee Dumas's book, The Mastery Journal. Because one of the main things, and there's lots of school of thought on this, is you only have so much deep focus time. So what that book does is you lay out your task, what you need to do. You focus for 45 minutes at a time and take a 15-minute break. Now, I did get to the point where I could do like 3 hour-and-a-half deep focus sessions a day. So actually, my focus was growing so anytime I start struggling with focus when I'm doing like office work stuff, I go back to that book. Now, my typical job, I don't need that because I'm getting constant dopamine rushes. I'm doing a job here, talking to a client here, so it works good. So I would say figure out how to focus. And when you're overwhelmed, because here's what happens. Overwhelm induces, paralyzation. It paralyzes your mind when you have ADD. So when you're overwhelmed, you need to get out a piece of paper and you need to start writing. Get the stuff off your mind, get it down, and then plug it in on your calendar to get it done. If you just do that, like, that'll help you tremendously.
That's so true. And I know I've seen that in my life. I don't think a lot of that, you don't have to have ADD to benefit from what Jimmy's talking about here, because I've used the Mastery Journal myself before. One of the things that I've learned as I'm kind of growing my own business is sometimes I get down on myself. Well, you didn't spend your 8 hours a day or your 10 hours a day working on your business. And it's like, well, no, but the time I did spend, I was spending like, I'm operating at high level because I'm in the zone. I'm doing the things, what's important next for the business. I'm not worried about getting my 8 hours in. I'm worried about utilizing the best of my time so that I can go out there and kill it. Because here's a fact, guys, and this is an amazing thing. When you're a small business owner, you don't punch a clock. Okay? You don't punch a clock. And that can be a great thing, and that can be a really bad thing. So the great thing is you're able to kind of work within the time that makes sense for you. You can work at times when you have the most focus, and you can operate. You can go to your kids' ballet class. You can go to their baseball game. You can do all these different things. The bad thing is you still have to do the business stuff. You still have to find that focus time.
That's right.
And scheduling it out, like Jimmy mentioned, is so critical. And I know I've gotten in the habit just within the last week of every day, I've got kind of 5 things that I'm like, okay, I'm going to do these every day. And, these are just things that are helping me in my life. So it's things like drinking a gallon of water. It's meditating. It's exercising. It's I've started taking cold showers, stuff like that are my daily 5. And then I'm adding every day 3 things that I need to do to move my business forward. And it's really simple. I write them down at the beginning of the day. And then when I'm ready to go in the zone, I nail them out. Boom. 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 Sometimes it takes me an hour. Sometimes it takes me 5. But I just get it done. And I feel accomplished for the day. And I can go on and win the day even more.
And John Lee Dumas did all the research. He found that if you do 4 45-minute deep focus sessions a day, that you outperform every 8-10 hour employee. Hands down.
I believe it. 100%. I know when I was doing the focus sessions, as I was a general manager at a cleaning company, like, oh my gosh, it allowed me to get so much more done in those times than diddle-daddling, not focusing, trying to get all this stuff done. And I'd find, I could go home after 5 hours and know that I killed it. I crushed it. I got so much done.
And it feels great.
Oh, it feels wonderful.
It's like natural adrenaline. Just, it's a great rush.
Absolutely. Now, as you think about it, so again, we're focused primarily on those new entrepreneurs, those folks that are new in business. What's kind of the most important thing, the most important piece of advice that you would give them as they're starting this entrepreneurial journey?
First of all, you have to believe in what you're doing. Like, because if you don't believe it, nobody else is going to. And you're going to face hurdles. You're going to have family members and friends that say you're crazy, start a business. And I would just like to say that almost every successful entrepreneur that I know have failed startups. They have, it's like the quicker you get out and fail, the quicker you succeed. So that's the first thing. You got to really believe. And then just like to kind of narrow down everything we're saying right now, you got to figure out what is the most important thing you need to do right now, today, to move the needle forward. And do that and put everything else on a list or schedule it, because there are so many distractions. I mean, you're going to be focused. I know, like, as good as we're doing, like, I can look at, Anchor Pro Wash and Up North Soft Wash and all these other great companies that are out there doing it, and I'm like, oh, what are they doing? And then I'm start feeling a little not as confident, and stuff like that. I just got to focus, super narrow vision. What is it that I need to do today to move the needle? If you do that every single day, you'll be shocked at the growth of your business in a year.
I love that. I love that. So starting off, believe in what you're doing, believe in yourself. And I'm going to give you a quick little idea for this that my coach has helped me with. And as I'm going through the book, The Gap in the Game, which if you haven't got a copy of that, highly recommend.
Yeah, I'll have to get that.
As you're going through, take some time and actually write out, what are your accomplishments? What have you done? Where, if you think back 10 years to where you are now, what have you accomplished in those 10 years? Because we've all accomplished a lot. And so you're going to start from a place of feeling successful, of competency, of gratitude, so many different things. You're going to feel great about your success when you do that. And then the last thing you mentioned, and this is something I would encourage you to do right now. If you're driving, pull over, pull out a journal, and write down what is the most important thing that you need to do today, right now, to take your business forward. And just jot it down and get it taken care of. Everything else can come after that.
I just want to say something really controversial. I believe that leaders are readers.
But I don't think that's that controversial.
No, that's not controversial. The next thing I think might be controversial. There is a point where you need to quit learning and start doing.
Oh, amen.
The leadership realm can be very enticing, and it's fun to read the book and listen to the podcast. But the success happens in the daily grind. And that's why I personally follow Clay Clark, because he's all about the grind. There is a time where it's like, if you've read a few leadership books, you need to introspect and say, how much of this have I actually implemented?
That's good. And I appreciate that. Because to be honest, I would have started my business a lot sooner if I hadn't fallen into that myself.
Yeah, and we've all done it.
Yep. Absolutely.
Because it's fun to do that, right?
Oh, yeah. It's
like
great.
It's like when you get a new gym membership. You get a new bag, new shoes, new clothes, and then it's the grind that the real, work happens. So anyway.
So get in the grind. Still read, but get in the grind.
Oh yeah, don't stop reading.
Just do it, guys. Just do it.
Yeah.
If you're looking at starting a business, just go out and do it.
Yeah.
Jimmy, thank you so much.
Thank you, man.
It's been a pleasure talking with you.
Yeah.
I'm excited to roll this out.
Yeah, me too.
I'm looking forward to the next one.
All right, brother.
All right, take care, guys. Bye.
Peace.
Stop the stream here. Yeah. Is your phone waterproof?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's awful close to the edge here.